There's a book in the Bible called Joshua, and it's an interesting book. It basically is like about the sixth in the Bible. Joshua was a man who basically followed Moses and was Moses' successor. Now, in the book of Joshua, you see where the people of Israel finally go into the promised land. The interesting thing that I get out of this, we've been talking about the covenant and where God made a covenant with Abraham and promised them this land and said, if you believe me, if you trust me, and do the things that I tell you to, then you're going to be able to live in this awesome place. So God had prepared this place for the Israelites and told them to go take it. Now, at first, when they went to check it out, they were afraid, they were freaked out. They said there were giants. They said we're like grasshoppers, we're going to get stepped on. And they left, and they didn't go. And God said, fine then, I'll wait till your kids grow up, and I'll let them go do it. So now a whole generation's passed. Joshua's going in, and once again they spy out the land. Now the interesting thing about this is when you read the first time the spies go in the land, which is at least 20, 30 years before, they don't really talk about a wall around Jericho. They don't talk, they talk about seeing giants and all this stuff. The second time they go in, they go to the city of Jericho, and there's this giant wall. Now, the interesting thing is when they actually go into Jericho, there's a really funny story about the spies going and visiting Rahab, who had an interesting business. But anyways, Rahab hid the spies and kept them from being captured. And the thing that she says, and this is what's interesting, she goes, everyone's talking about you guys, that you came across the Red Sea, that God parted the Red Sea, you left Egypt, that the whole Egyptian army was defeated, and we're afraid. This fear has fell upon us. And they knew that God was going to protect his people when they came into this land. And so they were very much afraid. And the thing I think is funny, this is what I think is amazing. So when God originally told them to go, there was no wall. And when God, waited the generation that people show up, there is a wall. They built a wall because from day one, when God said to go in this land belonged to the Israelites, the people of the land were afraid. And there was the time for them to just go in and take the land that belonged to them, and they didn't take advantage of that time. They waited. They were afraid. Instead of believing the covenant that God had promised them, instead of believing God's word and believing what God said, they believed what they thought was giants, and that they saw themselves as grasshoppers, and they wouldn't take that step to go and do the things that God said to do. And so when it was time for them to give it another shot, there was a wall there, and they had to get past this wall. And the point of what I wanted to talk about here is that basically, when God tells you to do something, do it. Don't wait. God has a perfect timing for you. If you're asking God for something, a job, healing, prosperity, if there are things in your life that you're missing, God has a plan for you. In Jeremiah, he says, I know the thoughts I think towards you, thoughts of peace and prosperity, to give you a future and a hope. He has a plan. He knows exactly what he wants you to do, and he has a way to do it. And not only that, he's going to prepare the way. He's going to make everything work for you. But it's up to you to take the initiative and go and do it. Don't wait. The amazing thing about this story is you see that God still helped the people, and the wall still fell, and they were able to go into the promised land, which God will always work with you. Even when we make a mistake, God's there to help us through it and take us through it. But it would have been so much easier if they would have done it the first time. So don't wait. When God tells you to do something, do it. When you read something in the Word, stand on it. Believe it. Don't back off. Move forward and go, because God has a perfect timing for you. Don't wait.